At my parents' anniversary dinner, they announced a surprise family trip to Hawaii. When I asked what time we were leaving, my dad said, "You're not part of the family." So I packed a bag that night and left. I've always been the invisible daughter. My parents struggled when they had my brother Arthur at 19, but by the time I came along 12 years later, they were financially stable. Arthur became the golden child. Football star, honor student, the son they always wanted. I was the bookworm they tolerated. Arthur got a full ride to state. I earned a partial scholarship 3 states away, but paid the rest through loans and 2 part-time jobs, living paycheck to paycheck. They took out a second mortgage to finish Arthur's degree when he lost his scholarship. Meanwhile, I got a polite, "That's nice, honey," when I won a regional marketing competition. The breaking point was their 30th anniversary. Dad announced a family trip to Hawaii, rented resort, the whole thing. Everyone cheered. I asked what dates, already planning to request time off work. Dad's smile died. "The trip is for family. You know, people who are really part of our lives." "I am family. I'm your daughter," Arthur jumped in. "You live 6 hours away. You barely visit. You're basically a stranger who happens to share our DNA." The room went silent. I looked around at 30 faces I'd known my entire life. Not one person spoke up. "Don't make a scene," Dad warned. I grabbed my purse. "I'm not making a scene. I'm just clarifying my position in this family, which is apparently nowhere." By morning, the hurt had crystallized into determination. I texted them, "Thanks for clarifying where I stand. Have a great trip." Then I flew to Seattle to stay with my college roommate. I threw myself into work. Within 6 months, I was promoted to marketing manager. A year later, recruited by a major corporation in Chicago at double my salary. I moved without telling my parents. They found out through a cousin who saw my social media. Dad called. "Why didn't you tell us you moved?" "Why would I? I'm not part of the family, remember?" In Chicago, I met David. His parents welcomed me like the daughter they never had. We got engaged 2 years later. I built a division that saved failing companies. Our success rate was 94%. My reputation in business turnarounds became legendary. Then I got the call. A manufacturing company on the verge of bankruptcy needed help. When I opened the file, my heart stopped. My father's company. They'd lost major contracts, owed money everywhere. 6 months until bankruptcy, maybe less. I could have declined. Instead, I took the case. When I walked into Dad's office wearing a suit that cost more than his monthly salary, he looked old, defeated. "So," I said, settling into his chair, "let's talk about saving your company." My assessment was brutal. "This company is failing because nepotism replaced competence. Arthur, you're a nice guy, but you can't run operations. Dad, you're a good engineer, but not a CEO. You want us to step down?" Dad asked. "I want you to decide what's more important, your pride or your company's survival." Arthur exploded. "You can't just take over our family business." I turned to him. 3 years ago, you said I wasn't really part of this family. Well, congratulations. You're getting exactly what you asked for. I'm treating this like any other failing business. They accepted my terms. Professional management came in. Within 6 months, 2 major contracts landed. Within a year, profitable. Within 18 months, thriving. Last month, a major corporation offered me a position heading their acquisition division. The salary was ridiculous. The catch? They were acquiring several Midwest manufacturing companies, including my father's. I took the job. The company I'd saved was now worth 10 times what it had been. Dad and Arthur owned 60% between them. My new boss wanted me to handle the acquisition personally. I called Dad myself. "Hi, Dad. I have a business proposition for you." The deal closed last week. Dad and Arthur are now millionaires thanks to the company I saved and the acquisition I engineered. At the closing dinner, Dad pulled me aside. "I want you to know I'm proud of you. What you've accomplished is extraordinary." I looked at this man who'd spent my childhood making me feel worthless, who'd publicly declared I wasn't family, and who now wanted to claim credit for my success. "Thank you," I said simply. "But you should know, I didn't do any of this for you. I did it for me. I stopped needing their approval the moment I stopped needing them."